All right, everybody, let's talk the COVID virus and information technology. Specifically, how is the virus or this pandemic, this event, impacting the industry as a whole? What I found, it's really kind of too soon to really understand, but there's some interesting information that's kind of painting a small story as we go along. But mainly, when it comes to the virus itself impacting the industry, you have the policies around social distancing, and then the labor market for manufacturing that just kind of wraps everything up in a nice, ugly little package. It gets us to where we're at right now. I've been in this industry for quite some time, 20 years, and this I think is the second virus that's had a major impact. The last one, it wasn't near as bad, obviously, but at least we saw some of the same things then as we are seeing now, which is everything is primarily impacting the supply chain side of the industry. So let's go ahead and take a look at some device sales, consumer electronic device sales that they started to look at in February. They saw a small dip, 3.5%. Then it increased by every week following through March, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think we would see really anything. I thought we would have seen a dip or shrink, but I really didn't understand how much technology people were going to be needing for these new policies around making sure people can work from home, whether for school or for work. So next, we'll look at consumer spending. All this really is consumer spending on electronics, smartphones, notebooks, monitors, etc. What we saw across the board was spending shrank, and I expect we're going to see this even more as we go on. But since this is early on, wasn't a whole lot of shrinking in the forecast. So the next we'll look at the technology market forecast as a whole. We're going to see, due to the demand being cut down because of this, they initially thought that they were going to see the industry grow by 3%. Now they most likely going to believe that through March they're only going to see growth by 2%, with some even a little more pessimistic about the whole scenario, believing that they can even see the whole market shrink by 2% instead of seeing growth, let alone just being stagnant. Next, I wanted to look at entertainment, specifically of the three big studios who are, do primarily most of all the filming of movies and television series. And all this has come to a screeching halt. They're no longer filming anything. NBC cut down 30 filming projects down to 0. Warner Brothers, they cut 70. Some of these, they either cut filming or they rushed it to release because they were in a place where most of the filming was done. But places like Warner Brothers got 70 here, either cut or early release. Disney, same thing, 16 cut, early release. Next, we'll look at the disruption of TV, laptops, and monitors. Since most of all of the laptop components, to include the screens itself, are built in China. And back in February, they saw a 10 to 20% production drop in China because of this. And most of their companies where production had dropped build for all the major big companies: Apple, Sony, Hewlett Packard, Microsoft, amongst others. But those are some of the biggest ones. Because of the production decrease, they had expected to see price increases from $1 to $2 per unit. What they actually did see was increases of $3 to $5 per unit. Next, let's talk hardware refurbishment. Since the supply of new hardware has been, well, almost dried up in some places, a lot of companies have, typically there's local companies who will refurbish older computers, desktop or laptop computers, and then turn around, sell them cheaper, essentially used but in workable condition again. And those types of companies typically aren't your first go-to company to get a computer, so their shelves don't usually go dry. And there's usually the supply of refurbished computers aren't running out, or used to. They weren't running out anytime soon until this event. And now these companies like this Urban Mining, since their materials are coming from computers that big companies are turning in, or universities or schools that may return their old stuff, but now aren't turning in their old stuff. Now those materials aren't getting to where they can be used for refurbishment. So even the used hardware supply is drying up because of the demand. Next, let's talk about the closing remarks. The three of my biggest takeaways for this project, I wanted to look at the flexibility of telework, since this is something I've been doing for years. A lot of companies make it seem like this is a new idea. So I'm curious to see how much of this is going to continue after the pandemic is all cleared up. The same with China and their big impact on information technology or consumer electronics as a whole. Will a lot of the companies here in the U.S., will they continue to use China as their primary, sometimes only producer for some of their components that's needed for production? Or will they diversify going forward some more? And the same thing for something similar going into Number three, the new operating models for IT industries, IT companies, IT service companies, especially those around hardware support. Will they continue to support the same way? Will they continue to use the same suppliers? Will there be any changes made to how IT businesses or IT support organizations, small or big, will work going forward? I find it real interesting since we really didn't have to change a whole lot. I work on an IT support contract, so there's not going to be a whole lot we really have to do different once all this is done. We can go back to steady state operations because most of everything we're doing right now is currently steady state operations. So that's it. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.